This week alone, I have stumbled across more articles than ever before about Donald Trump's failing mental health. The problem is that most of these articles were not from American media outlets. There were multiple articles from British media outlets. I saw one from an Australian media outlet. But it was the one from the Russian media outlet that really caught my attention, because typically when you see Russian media, you think, okay, well, this is going to be Kremlin propaganda. But even Russian media is out there positing that, hey, it's very likely that Donald Trump has dementia, or he's in the early stages of developing dementia like his father. So where's the American media on this? Oh, sure, we see articles about Donald Trump's cognitive health on independent progressive websites. There was an op-ed in USA Today this week about it. But an op-ed is not a piece. An op-ed is hidden as an op-ed because it's like, well, this is just this guy's opinion. But again, I can't get over that article from the Russian media that was titled, "White House Patient, Why Psychiatrists Are Alarmed by Donald Trump's Mental Decline." And I'm going to read you pieces of this article where the author, by the way, also pulled quotes and studies from well-known mental health professionals here in the United States, including Dr. Bandy Lee, who, basically spearheaded the book, The Dangerous Case of Donald J. Trump. But here's what the author wrote in this article. Trump is set to turn 80 before his current term is out, and his condition is clearly not improving. His speech is increasingly incoherent. He often makes crude jokes at inappropriate moments, like when he mimed a certain sexual act on a microphone. And he frequently resorts to profanity, which he obviously had not done in the past. His already limited vocabulary continues to shrink, while both his speech and actions are becoming more impulsive. According to several experts, these may be signs of early dementia, which, in combination with his narcissistic personality and lack of empathy, could prove to be an extremely dangerous concoction. I kind of want to point out that I have actually been saying for a very long time that it is the neurological and the psychological. I've pointed out both the dementia and the narcissistic personality disorder. Honestly, one of the reasons I think I like this article is because it's almost like I wrote it, because it's almost word for word what I've been saying in videos for quite some time. And then it goes on to talk about, he took the Montreal Cognitive Assessment and he's like, I aced it. Nobody's ever aced it. People ace it all the time. And it also brought up the fact that it's not uncommon for dementia patients to ace the Montreal Cognitive Exam. Because what that test is designed to do, and this is according to mental health professionals in the United States, is see if you need constant round-the-clock care. That test is designed to see who needs to go into a nursing home or a care facility. It doesn't necessarily test to see if you have these conditions. These are basic questions to see if you're able to function. And Trump's out there like, I took the best mental health exam ever and I aced it. No, all you did was prove that you don't need to be in a nursing home today. Tomorrow, who knows? But right now, you're okay. You can still have dementia and ace that exam. But then what this paper did, again, which I absolutely love, is they pulled the reports and the studies from the mental health professionals that have been sounding the warnings. This is from Dr. Bandy Lee. She listed the symptoms of Trump's deterioration, which again, they put in the article. Simpler vocabulary, incomplete and incoherent sentences, grammatical mistakes, and paraphasias, which is a speech disorder in which people substitute, rearrange, or distort words, inappropriate or vague statements that lack connection to reality, and perseveration, the compulsive repetition of the same thoughts or ideas regardless of context, which is another thing I point out all the time. Like his speech at West Point this past weekend, where he once again told the story about the trophy wives and that real estate guy who he was not doing good, and then he did do good, and then he got a trophy wife and blah, blah, blah. Nobody gives a shit. But anyway, I've mentioned that, so that is something we should all be familiar with. Then he quoted Harry Siegel, a senior lecturer in psychology at Cornell, who said, quote, What's alarming is how the rate of Trump's bizarre speech and political decisions have been increasing. He gave an answer about childcare to the Economic Club of New York so incoherent that even his supporters were concerned. Trump has shown evidence of dementia for the past year as indicated by his strange gait, phonemic paraphasia, and decline in the complexity of his words and concepts. This limited capacity explains his poor debate performance, and it's likely why he wouldn't agree to a second debate against Kamala Harris. Then they bring up reports from psychologist John Gartner, who has spoken to U.S. journalist Chauncey DeVega multiple times at Salon.com. And Gartner believes the media intentionally sanitized Trump's quotes by cutting out the most nonsensical parts. And they do. There's a term for this: sane washing, that gained popularity during Trump's first 4 years in the Oval Office. But just because the problem was visible 8 years ago does not mean that it has not gotten worse since. Then they go on to talk about all the studies that have been done that show that Donald Trump's vocabulary is shrinking. They compared his speeches from the 80s to what's happening, today. But here's the thing, again, this is a Russian media outlet. Okay, we're not talking about the New York Times or Washington Post or Reuters or AP doing this great digging and putting all these studies and stories together. They should be, but they're not. In order to get the real news about Donald Trump's mental state, we're having to turn to other countries to rely on their reporting. We got to go to the UK or to Australia or even to Russia because they're doing a better job than our media. And as always, I will repeat, the one exception, the constant exception, is Chauncey DeVega at Salon.com. He has been phenomenal. He has been on top of this since Trump's first term. And he still does it to this day. And he is the best at it. But outside of Chauncey, you're going to have to go to another country to get accurate reporting on our president's failing mental health. That's not okay. Meanwhile, you can't go to a website these days without finding a story, at least one, sometimes multiple, about Jake Tapper's book and Biden's mental health and that big cover-up that took place. Oh, it was awful. Y'all are doing the same thing with Donald Trump today, except to a much bigger degree. The cover-up of Donald Trump's mental decline has gone on long before Biden's cover-up did. And I'm not denying there was a cover-up. There absolutely was. But it's also completely irrelevant because Biden's not the president anymore. Trump is. And his mental state is worse. The media is sane-washing Trump in a way that they never did Biden. Biden said one of the things that Trump has said in the last 2 weeks. We would have seen calls for the 25th Amendment or a cognitive exam or articles about how his dementia is getting worse. But the mainstream corporate media here in the United States continues to ignore it. So we either go to the independent outlets, people like Chauncey DeVega, or, hell, Russian media is doing a better job covering it than our national media here in the U.S. Thanks for watching today, everybody. And don't forget, if you're not already, please do subscribe to this channel. We have fresh content going up every single day, and I would really hate for you to miss out on that. And speaking of missing out, if you're not following me across all other social media outlets, then get on it. You can follow the links in the description of this video.